And now you've got Fitzpatrick caught in his moment of glory. It seems you've got the eye of the shutterbug, little moth. Now, head to the atrium, place his photograph in my masterpiece, and so our collaboration commences.
After that morbid photograph, welcome back, Amiibros, to Bioshock. In the last episode, we arrived at Fort Frolic, just passing through until an artist by the name of Cohen not only cut off our communication with Atlas, but also the bathysphere that will lead us to where Andrew Ryan is. For what purpose? Well, we'll have to wait and see. So starting off, we're going to want to head to the second floor of the theater, as there is an engineering tonic sitting right there on that balcony in one of the rooms. Not this room, obviously, but in the next room over, you can see its tantalizing yellow glow. I want it. Unfortunately, these chairs are in the way, and blocking me from getting on top, so best course of action to do is hurl them away with telekinesis. Away with thee! Yes, this is one of the few times the game will have you do a platforming section in order to get a tonic. And away! Fuck! Alright, let's try that again! And we got our brand new engineering tonic, Alarm Expert. 2 fewer alarm tiles when hacking? Yes, please. Yep, that radio conversation with Sandra Cohen is always scripted. The moment you collect that engineering tonic, 2 Houdini splicers will pop up. Fortunately, they're not much of a problem, as we've done a crap ton of research on them, as well as we're packing anti-personnel rounds. So yeah, not a problem at all. But before I go any further, I want you to listen to this beautiful piano piece. This is one of the in-game soundtracks. Take a listen. But that's enough of that. Let's head back to the atrium, shall we? Let's head through here and take one last look at that poster we saw in the previous episode. What a coinky-dink. Atlas's kids are named Patrick and Moira. The 2 in that poster are also named Patrick and Moira. What a coincidence. I'll have to question Atlas when we see him about this. But yeah, funny enough, I didn't have to take this slow-ass elevator section down to the first floor. I could have just, went down, but meh, whatever.
You've your own canvas, one you'll paint the blood of a man I once loved. Yes, I'll send you to Ryan. But first, you must be part of my masterpiece. Go to the atrium. Hurry now. My muse is a fickle bitch with a very short attention span.
This ain't Bioshock Infinite, Sandra Cohen. I don't have a sprint button. You're just gonna have to wait for me, man. Patient-ass artist. I swear. But on the topic of engineering tonics, one engineering tonic that can be rather beneficial to you in this level is shorten alarms. Because remember, if you end up breaking the glass that is containing first aid kits, ammo, or what have you, the alarms will go off. And if a splicer just so happens to run in front of the glass while you're shooting at them, that's an alarm on you. So, again, if you're not packing natural camouflage, short alarms can help you out immensely.
This is what they'll point to. My quad tick. My masterpiece. Go ahead. Don't be afraid. Touch it.
Not sure I want to. I mean, the splicers that are plastered look like they can come alive, man. But by doing that, we get the newest and final addition to our arsenal, the crossbow.
And here's the glorious news. This is just the moment of conception. Out in this place, there are 3 men, all former disciples of mine, all connected by a common thread: betrayal. find them, little all, and immortalize their mortality in my quantic. Go. Once they've been sent to their reward, you shall go to yours, and to Ryan. The door to Posedian Plaza is now open to you, my maw.
Thanks to Mr. Cohen, we now have our final weapon, the crossbow. Surprisingly, very effective against spider splicers inside Fort Frolic. It also allows us to utilize trap bolts as well as incendiary bolts. I'll be getting into more of what the crossbow can do in a bit, but for right now, we go through the frozen tunnel. Wow, I'm not even breathing, man. Well, anyway, here's an entertaining audio diary to listen to.
You think you're gonna finish me in here, you old fruit? And the saps you tossed in this meat locker, all panicked like rabbits. I just watched and waited. And when they started to kick, I started to scavenge. Made myself a little splicer cocktail, I did. You can't come in from the cold, and you gotta grow ice over your heart. And the Iceman cometh, Sander, baby. The Iceman fucking cometh.
Boy, Marvel really wanted to give Iceman a new, more mature backstory, huh? Speaking of frozen, looks like we're put on ice.
Guess the old grape finally sent someone. Son of a bitch. Left me to freeze. Oh, I've got a pose all picked out for you.
Luckily, we are able to thaw out, unlike these poor saps, who Martin has probably left frozen for God knows how long. But by equipping our handy-dandy wrench, let's break some of these ice sculptures in hopes of finding Martin. Yeah, Martin Finnegan will either be your first or your last of Sanders' disciples to take down, depending on how you go about approaching this. And despite melting that thick mound of ice, the automatic hack tool can still be utilized, which is always nice. Speaking of nice, we finally found Martin, which didn't take too long. Martin Finnegan is a cool twist, pardon the pun, on the Houdini splicers. Instead of shooting fire, Martin will shoot ice at you, go figure, and his teleport will have a blue hue instead of a red hue. But aside from that, that's basically all the differences. All three of Sanders' disciples have a bit of a twist on the kind of splicers you've run into thus far. With the exception of Martin, the other two will be variants on nitro splicers.
Take a photo of him and place it in quantic. I'm feeling full, like an expectant mama.
Hopefully you're not expecting 8 more children, Sander, because, no offense to you, but, I don't think I want more of you running around.
Picture in the frame. Let's see what we've got here.
Well, we're not going to be doing that just yet, Mr. Cohen, because I'd rather take care of the other 2 disciples you have brewing past the frozen tunnel and into Posedian Plaza. So, let's get to it. For starters, we've got some spider splicers to take care of, which, funny enough, aren't too difficult to spot, as the spotlight will always shine on them. Funny enough, throughout this entire level, the spotlight will either shine on you or your enemies. So, again, it makes finding the spider splicers on the ceiling a lot easier, because, you know, you can't really hide once you're exposed. But on the topic of spider splicers, back to the crossbow, again, it is the most effective weapon for this level against them, acting as a one-hit kill. And again, it can, now that we have the crossbow, we can now utilize trap bolts, which we've seen all the way back in Arcadia, as well as incendiary bolts, which are just like regular crossbow bolts, except they emit fire and deal a bit more damage than a regular crossbow bolt does. Funny enough, about the crossbow, it is also the one weapon where we have a chance of recovering our ammo. Without upgrades, the chances of recovering the crossbow bolt is very low, but unlike most of the weapons we have in our arsenal, it's pretty nifty to have. The only real negative I'd say about the crossbow is that it is a very precision-based weapon. I mean, go figure, it's a crossbow. You know, what'd you expect? But you can only fire one arrow at a time. You know, so if you miss, you're gonna have to wait a bit till the reload animation is finished before you can fire again, which can make the crossbow a bit of an annoying weapon to utilize. But against big daddies, the trap bolts, much like the proximity mines, are very, very helpful. I don't utilize trap bolts as much as I do proximity mines, but the option is there if you so choose. Speaking of choices, let's hack this UN vent station and see if we can pick up anything. As you see, we now have access to crafting trap bolts, which is always nice, as well as some heat-seeking RPGs and even electric gel, which again, always nice. We're just shy of an enzyme to create one of the 3 tonics inside that station, so we're gonna have to wait for that just a little bit longer. And again, this is why I was stressing that you really comb through Farmer's Market and Arcadia for those materials to invent the tonics, because not that it's difficult to find enzyme samples, it's just if the materials are there, you might as well go and get them just to save yourself the hassle of creating one of them. You know, because again, those 3 tonics are very, very handy, especially Booze Hound, you know, which is my personal favorite physical tonic because it turns an obstacle like alcohol into a benefit, you know, in the sense that, you know, if you have Eve Link as well as Booze Hound, you're never running out of Eve. You know, alcohol not only restores health at that point, but again, your Eve will be restored and you'll have nothing to worry about. You know? It'll definitely slow down your Eve hypo consumption, that's for sure. But we're now in another conflict with a Big Daddy. Finally, a bouncer Big Daddy, which we haven't seen, Christ, all the way back. We haven't seen these guys since Medical Pavilion. But this isn't just any kind of bouncer, it's an elite bouncer. Which pretty much means it has a bit more health, it has a detachable harpoon instead of a drill, and it also sports some nifty red stripes. Nice. But after taking him down, let's rescue this little sister. And boom! Our first little sister of Fort Frolic.
The little ones have never had anyone to look to, except to me, and I am not much to speak of. You give them hope. And for this, I am grateful. I'll send something to demonstrate that gratitude.
Why, thank you very much, Tannenbaum. You're ever so kind. But yeah, instead of Rosie's occupying Fort Frolic, it's now the Bouncers, which, again, we haven't seen since Medical Pavilion. You know, it's crazy to think about, considering that the Bouncer Big Daddy is the one that's shown the most, you know, in trailers as well as the box art. Even then, as challenging as the Rosie Big Daddies can be at times compared to the Bouncer Big Daddies, I'd argue that the Bouncer Big Daddies are a lot cooler than the Rosies, you know? They're also a lot more terrifying, if you ask me. But, that's just my 2 cents. You know, maybe the developers were like, no, the Rosie Big Daddy is like the coolest Big Daddy. You know, it's wielding a gun instead of a drill, and you know what? The player's gonna shit their pants a lot more when they encounter the Bouncer Big Daddies, less so than the Rosie Big Daddies, I guess. And Jesus Christ, I have said Big Daddies a lot in this segment, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. I think the Bouncer Big Daddies are a lot better and a lot cooler than the Rosie Big Daddies, not the Roser Big Daddies. What the fuck? But as you saw back there, we have 3 little sisters in total to rescue in Fort Frolic. We already saved 1, so that just leaves 2 left. So the next level we go to, Hephaestus, we'll be able to collect another of Tannenbaum's rewards starting out when we rescue our first little sister in that level, which is always nice, you know. start off on the right foot and be able to spend it on some crazy powers that we'll come in contact with. But that's not for a while. Right now we're in Fort Frolic, and we are somewhat enjoying our time, I assume, you know. Despite how crazy Sander can be, he's somewhat decent company. He's a breath of fresh air compared to Atlas, I'd say.
Well, if it isn't the long-lost Andrew Ryan. Come here, Tiger.
In hindsight, that line is rather amusing. But we'll get to that when we play Bioshock Infinite. Business must not have been that good if you're making only that much, sweetie. I mean, you're described as Ryan's mistress, so, I mean, maybe he could hook you up. I don't know. I'd rather just leave it at that and move on to the next topic of conversation. Well, concerning Fort Frolic, funny enough, way back before Bioshock was released, back in 2006, when this game was still making the rounds, Fort Frolic was actually the first level shown off at E3 2006. You know, obviously this level has undergone some changes that don't match up with the final product, obviously. But a lot of the things shown off at E3 2006 were pretty different. You know, for example, the Little Sisters, their tone of voice was a lot more high-pitched, where, you know, it sounded like a bit more guttural, I guess. You know, if you've ever seen a Sam Raimi film and you see how women shriek in his films, kind of like that.
I thought you had forgotten about poor Jasmine, but I am so glad you didn't. I'm sorry, Mr. Ryan. I didn't know. I didn't know Fontaine had something to do with it. What are you doing? No, don't, please. I loved you, don't, please, no.
Speaking of Sam Raimi films, geez, Ryan, you certainly have a way with the ladies. Drink to that, I guess. And there's another audio diary right here. Pregnancy.
That creepy Dr. Tannenbaum promised me it wasn't gonna be a real pregnancy. They just take the egg out once Mr. Ryan and I had... Well, I needed the money so bad. But I know Mr. Ryan's gonna suss it out. Gonna know I wasn't being careful. Gonna know I sold the... Mr. Ryan's gonna be so mad at me.
Given what we just heard, safe to say mad was a bit of an understatement. My only question is, where did Ryan get the pipe? I mean, it's too big to be a part of the bed stand, or the leg of the bed. You know, did he just walk in there with the pipe? I think he did. I mean, obviously he wasn't arrested. He owns the fucking city. Well, a lot of the security detail, but... whatever. Anyway, Hector Rodriguez, another of Sander's disciples that we need to take down. Unlike Martin Finnegan, he is a variant of the Nitro Splicers. Instead of throwing grenades, he'll throw Molotov cocktails at you.
He was a lout, but he was vigorous. Get the photo before it completely dries up.
Yes, Mr. Cohen, I'll take the photo.
You
It's not a very impressive
flutter
photo
all
either.
around the fort, taking life as you go. You're not a moth. You're an angel. I've never painted an angel. Maybe I should.
Certainly have the powers of one, that's for sure. But after collecting another enzyme sample, we now have enough materials to create the physical tonic. Booze Hound. I mean, we could have also created Bloodlust, but you know what? Fuck it. I need a drink. I mean, after learning the crap we just learned, safe to say we could, you know, do with a drink. But first, let's take a picture of this bouncer over here, because we have yet to complete a few levels of research on them. But by completing another level, we get the upgraded physical tonic, or combat tonic, of Wrench Jockey. Surprisingly enough, doing research on the bouncers increases your wrench damage, which is a little odd. I mean, maybe it's drawing from the trailer of the game, you know, where Jack picks up a not as mighty wrench and swings at the bouncer with it. I don't know. What I do know is I've been waiting to get fucking plastered since I arrived in Rapture. Ah, how nice. Anyway, back to the objective. I mean, we do have an objective to complete. And before we can rescue another little sister, this big guy is gonna take for fucking ever as he walks up the stairs to go to the vent. So in the meantime, let's take care of Silas Cobb. We did listen to his audio diary in the last episode, so we might as well take care of him now. Unfortunately, we can't enter that shop through the bottom level. We're gonna have to enter it through the top level. And before we can do that, we've got spider splashes to worry about. Ugh. I swear, spider splashes are a lot more common in Fort Frolic. Not so much as that they're one of the prime enemies, but they swarm you the most in this level, I feel. You know, in previous levels, they didn't incorporate swarm tactics as much, but now I guess they do. Like I said before in the last episode, spider splicers are very acrobatic. You know, they're able to drop kick you, which is something we haven't seen yet. Or maybe we did see and I missed it, but I mean, that's the thing they can do. It's very easy to dodge. Right there's a health station that you want to hack. You want to hack, actually, all the health stations here, because that is one thing the disciples of Sander Cohen will do, is that, because again, they are splicers, and if you diminish their health too much, they will make a break for the health station and heal up. Now, again, something I don't do because my playstyle, I assume, is... Or my playstyle, not assuming, it is to just brute force it and kill them before they get the chance to kill me. You know? That's just the way I play. Luckily, this game supports any kind of playstyle you use, so... You know, that's always nice. You know, I'm always a fan of games that do that. You know, there is no one right way to go about things. You know, it's all a matter of what you prefer and what your tastes are, you know? Even if they're a little explosive at times. But we have our final disciple to take care of, Silas Cobb. And unfortunately, we can't shoot the fucker right then and there, as this is an in-game cutscene. And because this is an in-game cutscene, my wrench isn't mighty enough to break through it. Curse you, in-game cutscenes! But Cobb is now sicking his kittens, quote-unquote, on us. And by the sound of it, those kittens are definitely in pain. What is it with everybody in Rapture harming cats? You know, is it a fucking fetish or something? Also, that does not look like a kitten that I've seen. Is it a new breed in Rapture? Flaming kittens? I mean, I'm not a fan of the flaming pussy. I mean, okay, I'm gonna stop right there in case they're, you know, youngins watching these episodes. I'm gonna stop right there. Well, first off, why are you watching this? Where's the parental supervision? I could whip out the electric gel on Silas Cobb over here, but I'd rather save it for something important. And I apologize for the glitched footage right here again. Basically what he says is we murdered his kittens, even though he literally lit them on fire! I guess you can't argue with stupidity. And the spider splicer needs to fuck off before I do something stupid, like that! Ugh. Because I shot the glass, I triggered the alarm. Short alarms would really be helpful at this point. Fuck you, Silas. I mean, unlike Hector Rodriguez, you at least have some good drops on you, instead of just beer, trap bolts, and money.
And my favorite. But I think I like it better this way. Take his damn photo. Chop chop.
Will you really miss him, Sander Cohen? I mean, kind of trash talked you in an audio diary, man. But, with all three of Cohen's disciples dead and a little sister rescued, I'm gonna call it here, folks. Tune in next time as we take all three pictures and assemble Cohen's masterpiece. See you guys then.
Ryan's not a musician. He's Ryan's stable boy. Ryan's corrupt policies crap all over the place, and Cohen flutters around clearing it up. But instead of using a shovel, like you would with a proper mule, Cohen tidies with a catchy melody and a clever turn of phrase. But no matter how nicely it sounds, he can't really do anything about the smell.
You know what? Art, music, poetry. It's all grift. Cohen's got Ryan wrapped around his little pinky. And why? Because he tells him what he wants to hear. Rise, rapture, rise. Nuts. That stuff was stale before it came out of Cohen's pen. I'm through with the whole pinata. See that old fruit try and keep me here.
The good people of Rapture didn't sign up to see us government types shutting down shops, killing their owners, even with a ponce like Fontaine. But he brung it upon himself. Instead of copping it on the chin, Bugger gets it into his head that he's gonna go down guns blazing. Who does he think he is, John bloody Wayne? We can get on top of this. We can. Here's what we do. We find Fontaine's will and make what was his go to where it was intended, and not into the pockets of us that put him into the ground.